Introduction. I want to talk to you today about necessary endings. So often we hold on to things that God has been trying to remove from our lives. We cling to relationships, jobs, habits, and situations that are no longer meant for us. But I want to remind you, every season has an expiration date. See, in the natural, a tree doesn't hold on to dead leaves. When fall comes, the leaves change colors, and soon they let go. The tree doesn't fight to keep them. It knows that shedding the old makes room for the new, and the same principle applies to our lives. Think about a gardener. When he sees a plant that's not growing properly, what does he do? He trims it. He cuts off the dead branches, removes the weeds, and makes space for new growth. Sometimes God is that gardener in our lives. He sees the relationships that are holding us back, the habits that are keeping us stuck, and the opportunities that are no longer fruitful. It may not be easy, but pruning is a part of growing. And if we resist it, we may end up stuck in a place where we were never meant to be. Some of you have been holding on to people who don't belong in your future. You keep trying to fix relationships that God has already released you from. You're wondering why you feel drained, frustrated, and stuck. It's because you're carrying things that were never meant to go with you into your next season. When God wants to bless you, He often removes the wrong people first. Don't fight what He's trying to end. Let it go. I know endings can be painful. Maybe you lost a job you thought you'd have forever. Maybe a friendship ended and you don't understand why. But can I tell you, God never takes something away without having something better in store. Proverbs 3:05 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding." You may not see the full picture, but if you trust Him, you'll look back and realize that what you thought was a loss was actually a setup for your greatest gain. Every season in life has an expiration date. Nothing is meant to last forever. Not every relationship, not every job, not every opportunity. Yet so often we resist change because it feels uncomfortable. We hold on to what's familiar, even when it's no longer helping us grow. But just like the leaves change color in the fall and eventually let go, we too must embrace the necessary endings in our lives. Think about a tree in the middle of winter. It looks barren, the branches are empty, and it seems like nothing is happening. But beneath the surface, deep in the roots, the tree is preparing for a new season of growth. The old leaves had to fall so that fresh buds could take their place in the spring. In the same way, God allows certain things to end in our lives, not to harm us, but to prepare us for something better. Sometimes we stay in situations that were only meant to be temporary. We hold on to friendships that have run their course. We cling to jobs that we've outgrown. We replay past mistakes, refusing to let go of the guilt. But here's the truth. You cannot move forward while still holding on to the past. If you keep carrying yesterday's baggage, you won't have room for today's blessings. One of the biggest reasons people struggle with endings is fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of being alone, fear of failure. But the only way to step into something greater is to release what is no longer serving you. Imagine you're holding a handful of rocks. If someone offers you diamonds, but your hands are full, you won't be able to receive them. That's how life works. Sometimes God can't bless you with what's next because you're too busy holding on to what's behind you. You may have experienced a closed door in your life. Maybe a relationship ended and it left you heartbroken. Maybe you lost an opportunity that you thought was your big break. But I want to encourage you today, closed doors are often a blessing in disguise. When God removes something, it's because He has something better in store. He is not trying to take away your joy. He is setting you up for greater things ahead. Think about an eagle. When an eagle has outgrown its nest, it doesn't stay where it's comfortable. It takes a leap of faith. It spreads its wings and soars into new heights. If the eagle refused to leave the nest, it would never discover its ability to fly. In the same way, if you refuse to let go of what is ending, you may miss out on the amazing future that God has planned for you. So don't be afraid of necessary endings. Embrace them. Trust that God is guiding you towards something better. Let go of what no longer fits your life and make room for the new things He has in store. Your best days are not behind you, they are still ahead. In life, growth doesn't just happen by accident. It requires intentional effort. Just like a gardener carefully prunes a tree to make it healthier and stronger, we have to be willing to cut away the things that no longer serve us. If we want to step into our full potential, we have to remove what is dead, weak, or holding us back. Pruning is never easy because it means letting go. It's painful to cut off branches, but the gardener knows that without pruning, the tree will become overgrown, weighed down, and unable to bear good fruit. Sometimes in our own lives, we hold on to things that are draining our energy and stunting our growth. We keep investing time in relationships that are not leading us anywhere. We stay in environments that are not allowing us to flourish. We hold on to habits that are preventing us from reaching new heights. But just like that tree, if we don't prune away what is unnecessary, we will never experience the fullness of what we are created to be. Imagine a vineyard. A vine that is left untrimmed will produce many branches, but not all of them will be fruitful. The ones that do not bear fruit will take up valuable nutrients, weakening the vine and preventing it from reaching its full potential. That's why a skilled gardener will carefully cut back those unfruitful branches. It may look like a loss at first, but in reality, it's making space for greater abundance. This principle applies to every area of life. Maybe there are relationships that used to be meaningful, but are now only bringing you stress. Maybe you've been carrying a negative mindset for years, telling yourself that you're not good enough, that you'll never succeed. Maybe there are habits or distractions keeping you from reaching your goals. It's time to step back and ask yourself, what in my life needs to be pruned? What is draining me instead of strengthening me? It's important to understand that not everything we let go of is necessarily bad. Sometimes we have to say goodbye to good things to make room for great things. A job that once brought fulfillment may no longer challenge you. A friendship that was once supportive may now be keeping you stuck in old patterns. The key is to recognize when a season has ended and trust that cutting back is part of God's plan for your growth. One of the biggest mistakes we make is holding on to things out of fear. Fear of change, fear of hurting someone's feelings, fear of stepping into the unknown. But the truth is, pruning is not a loss. It's an investment in our future. When you remove what is no longer needed, you create space for something better. So don't be afraid to let go. Trust that just like a tree becomes healthier after pruning, your life will become stronger, more vibrant, and more fruitful when you remove what is holding you back. God has greater things in store for you, but you have to make room for them first. Not everything or everyone in our lives is meant to stay forever. Some relationships, habits, and mindsets serve a purpose for a season, but when that season is over, we have to be willing to let them go. Holding on to toxic people, negative environments, or harmful patterns only keeps us stuck. If we want to move forward and grow, we must learn to recognize what is draining us and have the courage to walk away. Toxicity comes in many forms. Sometimes it's a relationship that constantly brings you down instead of lifting you up. Maybe it's a friend who always discourages you, a coworker who fills the air with negativity, or even a family member who makes you doubt your worth. Other times, toxicity isn't about people, it's about our own thoughts and behaviors. Maybe you've developed a habit of doubting yourself, comparing yourself to others, or settling for less than you deserve. These toxic patterns keep you in a cycle of frustration and prevent you from stepping into the life God has planned for you. One of the hardest things in life is realizing that some people and situations are not meant to be part of your future. We try to hold on, hoping things will change, but deep down we know that certain relationships or habits are not bringing us peace. Instead of moving forward with joy, we feel drained, burdened, and exhausted. If something or someone is constantly robbing you of your peace, your joy, or your confidence, it may be time to let it go. Imagine you're carrying a heavy backpack filled with rocks. Each rock represents a toxic relationship, a painful memory, or a negative mindset. As you continue walking, the weight slows you down, making it harder and harder to move forward. Now imagine if you started taking out those rocks one by one. With each release, the burden becomes lighter, and before you know it, You're walking with ease, free from unnecessary weight. That's what happens when we let go of toxicity in our lives. Some people will try to make you feel guilty for walking away from what is unhealthy. They will say, you've changed, as if growth is a bad thing. But the truth is, not everyone is meant to go with you to your next level. If someone is constantly pulling you down, you cannot take them higher. And if a mindset is keeping you from believing in yourself, you cannot hold on to it and expect success. Letting go is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. It means you respect yourself enough to choose peace over drama, growth over stagnation, and faith over fear. When you remove toxic influences from your life, you make space for healthy, uplifting, and inspiring people to enter. You create room for joy, confidence, and opportunities that align with God's plan for you. So don't be afraid to walk away from what no longer serves you. Trust that when you let go of the wrong things, the right things will find their way to you. Your future is too bright to be weighed down by toxicity. Release it and step into the freedom God has for you. Life is full of transitions, and sometimes the things that end are not accidents. They are divine setups. When something comes to a close, when a door shuts unexpectedly, or when a chapter in your life feels like it's over before you were ready, it's easy to feel discouraged. You may wonder why it happened, question what went wrong, or even try to fight to keep what is leaving. But what if that ending is actually part of God's plan? What if He is removing something to make room for something better? Trusting God's plan means believing that He sees the full picture, even when we don't. It means understanding that sometimes what looks like a loss is actually a setup for something greater. We often hold on to situations that are comfortable because we are afraid of change, but God knows what's best for us. He sees the opportunities ahead, the blessings waiting for us, and the people who are meant to be in our lives. Sometimes, in order to receive His best, we have to let go of what is no longer meant for us. Think about a child who outgrows their favorite pair of shoes. They may not want to give them up because they are familiar, but if they try to keep wearing them, they will eventually become painful. Holding on to something that no longer fits you, whether it's a relationship, a job, or a way of thinking, can keep you stuck in discomfort when God has something better waiting. When He leads you to a necessary ending, it's not to hurt you, but to prepare you for something that fits the person you are becoming. The Bible reminds us in Isaiah 55, 8-9, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts." This means that even when we don't understand why something is ending, we can trust that God is working behind the scenes. He is making a way where there seems to be no way. There are times when we pray for a breakthrough, but before God can give us something new, He has to remove what no longer serves us. We may ask Him for success, but we're still holding on to habits that are keeping us from growing. We may ask Him for healthy relationships, but we're still surrounded by negative influences. Necessary endings are often God's way of answering our prayers, even if it doesn't feel like it in the moment. Instead of resisting change, embrace it. Instead of mourning what has ended, look forward to what is coming. Trust that God's plan for you is not to leave you empty, but to fill your life with new blessings, new opportunities, and new joy. When you trust Him fully, you can walk away from endings with peace, knowing that every closed door is leading you closer to your destiny. Growth never happens in comfort. As long as we stay in the same familiar places, doing the same things we've always done, we will never discover our true potential. Too often, people settle for less than what they were created for, simply because they are afraid to step into the unknown. But if you want to experience all that God has for you, you have to be willing to break free from what is comfortable and step into something greater. Think about a baby bird in a nest. That nest is warm, safe, and secure, but at some point, the mother bird knows that if the baby stays there too long, it will never learn to fly. So what does she do? She nudges it out. It may seem harsh, but in reality, she is teaching it to soar. The same thing happens in our lives. Sometimes when we get too comfortable in a job, a relationship, or a way of thinking, God will allow things to shift. He will push us out of what feels safe, not to harm us, but to help us spread our wings. Many people miss out on their destiny because they refuse to leave their comfort zone. They stay in a job where they are no longer growing because they fear the uncertainty of something new. They remain in friendships that drain them because they are afraid of being alone. They avoid taking risks because they don't want to fail. But what they don't realize is that staying in a comfortable place can actually be more dangerous than stepping out in faith. When you refuse to move forward, you end up stuck, never reaching the fullness of what God has planned for you. In the Bible, when God called Abraham to leave his home and go to a land he would show him, Abraham didn't have all the details. He didn't know exactly where he was going or what it would look like, but he trusted God enough to step out in faith. Because of that obedience, Abraham stepped into blessings greater than he could have imagined. The same is true for us. When we trust God enough to leave what is familiar, we position ourselves for something far better. One of the biggest traps in life is thinking this is good enough. You may have a decent job, a stable routine, or a situation that feels okay, but deep down you know there is more. You know you were created for greater things, but as long as you stay in your comfort zone, you will never step into that next level. God doesn't want you to live an average life. He wants you to live a life of purpose, growth, and abundance. It's time to take that step. Let go of the fear. Stop settling for what is comfortable and start believing for more. When you have the courage to leave behind what is safe, you will discover that God has been waiting to open doors you never imagined possible. Your greatest blessings are on the other side of your comfort zone. Walk forward in faith and receive them. Endings are often viewed as something negative, something to grieve, something to resist. But in reality, endings are not just necessary, they are opportunities for new beginnings. Every time something comes to a close in our lives, whether it's a relationship, a job, a season, or a mindset, it is making room for something better. Instead of focusing on what is lost, we must shift our perspective and begin to see endings as the doorway to new growth, new blessings, and new possibilities. Think about a caterpillar. It spends its early life crawling on the ground, limited in where it can go, but then something happens. It enters a cocoon. From the outside, it may seem like an ending, a period of isolation, even death. But inside that cocoon, transformation is taking place. The caterpillar is not dying. It is being prepared for something greater. And when the process is complete, what emerges is not the same creature that went in. It is a butterfly free to soar to heights it could have never reached before. This is how life works. Sometimes when we go through endings, it may feel like we are losing something. But in reality, we are in a season of transformation. God is using that ending to prepare us for something far greater than we could have imagined. What seems like a loss is often the very thing that is setting us up for a new beginning. Many times we get so focused on what is behind us that we fail to see what is ahead. We keep looking back at the job we lost, the friendship that ended, the opportunity that slipped away. But if we could see what God is doing, we would realize that He never takes something away without the intention of replacing it with something better. Every closed door is a sign that He has a new and greater opportunity waiting. Every season that ends is an invitation to step into something new. In Isaiah 43:19, God says, "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it?" That verse reminds us that new beginnings are happening all around us, but we have to open our eyes to see them. If we spend all of our time mourning what is gone, we will miss what is coming. If we keep holding on to the past, we will never have the strength to embrace the future. Instead of fearing endings, we should welcome them. Instead of resisting change, we should embrace it. God is always working behind the scenes, orchestrating things in our favor, setting us up for greater success, greater joy, and greater purpose. If something has ended in your life, don't let it discourage you. Let it excite you. It is proof that something new is on the way. Your story is not over. It is just beginning. Keep moving forward with faith, knowing that your best days are still ahead. Life is full of necessary endings, but every ending is a setup for something greater. We must learn to recognize when a season has run its course, have the courage to let go, and trust that God is leading us towards something better. Just like a tree is pruned to produce more fruit, we must remove what no longer serves us in order to grow. Letting go of toxic influences, stepping out of our comfort zones, and embracing change are all essential parts of the journey toward our destiny. God's plans are higher than our own, and He often closes doors to open new ones. Instead of resisting endings, we should welcome them as opportunities for transformation. When we trust His timing and direction, we will see that every necessary ending is making way for a new beginning filled with greater joy, growth, and purpose. So don't be afraid of what's leaving your life. Don't hold on to what no longer fits. Keep moving forward in faith, knowing that the best is yet to come. When you release what is behind you, you make room for God's greatest blessings ahead.